Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for visiting with us. I'll have to say that I have really appreciated the discussion that we've had here today with our colleagues, and as is always the case with me, I have remarks that are planned, and then I make the mistake of listening to what other people have said. And I really do want to agree with some of the things that my colleagues have said, like Mr. Schmucker and Mr. Kelly, that we need, and you, Mr. Ambassador, have said that we need to have access to markets. Specifically, Mr. Kelly said, we can't afford to lose any market share, and I agree with him. He went on to say that we need to level the playing field. Mr. LaHood talked about his soybean farmers in Illinois, and I'm from Wisconsin, sir, and so I do know that we have $1.3 billion worth of soybean product, and our main partner is with China. And so I think Wisconsin farmers, that's just one example of how we are at risk of losing market share. And then Mr. Doggett went on to say how, you know, instead of allowing, like my soybean farmers to do that, what we would revert to would be to give them welfare. And I guess I don't agree with that characterization. I don't even agree with it as a characterization of a subsidy, because it's actually a ripoff. You know, farmers lost about $27 billion in the first Trump administration, and they only got about $23 billion in subsidy return. So they lost money, they lost market share, and they lost lives. You know, in Wisconsin, there was a study done, and they looked at suicide rates, and suicide rates among farmers are like 3.5 times more than in other professions. It's a very stressful career. And so I am very concerned, and I wonder what's going to happen to them. You haven't said to us, I think you sort of skirted the question about whether or not we were going to give them subsidies. But even if we would give them subsidies, that would not prevent them from losing market share. And farmers they don't want a check. They want to be able to farm. I also wonder, sir, I'm just saying, I think that when you look at trade deficits, I think we have to look at more than just what a tariff may or may not do. Our trade imbalances over time have been caused by us not having a trade balance on issue of labor laws, making sure that there's no slave labor and child labor, that the environment is protected when we extract materials and do stuff, that people have the ability to bargain in their countries and to make sure that they get a wage that's commensurate with their efforts. And, you know, I agree with Mr. Kelly that we need to level the playing field on those fields, and that a rising tide will lift all boats. I do wonder, Mr. Ambassador, whether this administration's trade policy, and it seems that it does, my colleague here just mentioned the trade deficit that we have with Madagascar. I had the privilege to go on a trip with the committee to Madagascar where there was a 75% poverty rate. So I'm wondering if they will ever be able to give us a trade balance. Speaking of Madagascar, they belong to AGOA. And I'm wondering if this administration's policies would eliminate something that's been bipartisan, the trade preference programs that we've had under AGOA. Yes or no? Are we going to have an AGOA?
So, Congresswoman, thanks for your
AGOA.
remarks. Well, it's up to Congress. Congress has to decide if they're going
up to the president. He's in charge of trade. We've sort of.
Do you have a bill? I haven't seen the bill yet on this. If there's a bill, I'll advise the president accordingly on how we should approach it.
Okay, I'll just say one last question to you. You say that we have got to reshore manufacturing. You did not say where folks will get the money and the confidence, really, to make these investments. Is any of the money that you plan to get from tariffs going to be targeted to incentivizing manufacturing? I've got a factory that made car frames, A.O. Smith, 10,000 people working there. When are we going to reopen A.O. Smith, sir? If the chairman,
I would love to reopen that, and if
when? Will I be alive? I'm going to be 74 in 9
I hope
days.
so. We should go there, you and I, and talk to them about what they need in order to reopen. We put tariffs in place
I mean,
on
they've been
foreign autos and
shuttered
auto
for
parts.
years.
We want to create incentives so they can reopen.
What's the timeline between the suffering that they're doing now and when A.O. Smith is going to open again?
Part of the problem is we've offshored jobs for so long, and no one's taken action. We've sat on it. We have this huge, it is an emergency, and I agree with you, and I think your comments have been very thoughtful.
I don't have that much time. I mean, I'll be 74 in a few days. It's 10 years. It takes a long time to open up a factory
That's
and
why
to get the investments.
That's why the
And
president.
is it going to be 10 years? How long before we just have to be patient?
That's why the president's acting now, because we can't wait anymore. We have to reshore now.
Now, like a microwave now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.